Good morning. Welcome to the Bond Sunday morning services. Thank you so much for being with me. I am Jesse Lee Peterson. You can get involved right now by calling 1-800-411-2663, 1-800-411-BOND. You can also email me, church@bondinfo.org, church@bondinfo.org, and put your name and town, all your emails, and I can respond to your questions and comments today. And good morning to everybody here again.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Any questions for me or anything? You guys had a week, a long life. You have a question?
Well, okay. Just one. When you're in a situation, say when say you're starting out a business, which okay, do you need a certain amount of patience to deal with a situation such as building your business?
Yes. You need patience for everything.
Yes.
And most people don't have it.
Yes.
But yes, good question.
I meant yes. I meant.
Do you have patience?
I pray that I do because.
Do you have it or not?
I don't.
I wonder what people mean. I pray that I do. How do you know if you have it or not?
I don't believe I do, but I want it.
You don't know for sure?
I only okay. I just started on advertising my.
Do you
business.
have patience?
I don't believe I do.
You don't know for sure?
No.
You don't know if you have patience or not?
No, I never been. I don't know if I ever been in situations that required patience.
The whole life requires that you have patience. Everything in life requires that. Not just with business.
Let's just say I try to keep out of life's way because I know I always make a mess out of everything.
This is why we got to know ourselves. Make sure you know yourself. I want to get someone to read something. Rhonda, you know how to read? It's kind of long, and I want to just share it with you, and I don't know what's going to come from it. But I want to talk about fear and where that come from, because over the last 2 weeks I've done some speaking engagements, and I've asked just to do little surveys without saying I'm doing a survey. How many of you have fear? And in every situation, most people raise their hands. And then I ask, how many of you are afraid of your wives? The men. I asked the men, how many of you are afraid of your wives? And in every situation, most men raise their hands. Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
And you're not going to get anywhere. Well, you'll get somewhere in life as far as you can get money and all that kind of stuff, material things, but you're not going to get anywhere in life if you have fear. You won't have peace. You'll have wealth because these folks have money. Most of these people have money, but they are afraid. And you got to overcome this fear. How many of you have fear? Wow. Everybody except one.
No, I have fear. I just don't raise my hand.
Oh, you have fear?
Yeah, a whole lot of them.
A whole lot of fear. And where do your fear come from? Where does it come from?
Living.
From living? Just life?
Live and learn. It's just life.
Yeah. Do you believe that you can overcome that and not have it at all?
Yes.
You can. Oh, okay. You do believe it. You just don't quite know how.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's honesty. Who don't believe that you can lead a life without fear? So everybody believe you can live without. You don't believe you can?
Sometimes they don't believe it, yeah.
You think it's something you have to have?
Feels like it.
It feels that way? Oh, okay. How about you, Hermes? You believe that you can live a life without fear?
Yeah.
And why do you hold on to it then?
I don't see myself holding on to it. And it's weird because it just seems to be, it's not even fear of big things. It's just kind of like sometimes it'll come out. I know when I have it is because whenever I'm resentful about or angry, then that's when it appears. The rest of the time it's not there, but when I've overreacted to something, then I know it's like right there.
Right. But it is there. It's just that you don't have a challenge to bring it up.
Say it's like a volcano. So sometimes it's active, other times it's
Yeah.
not.
But it's there though.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
Yeah. It's always there. If you have it, it's always there. And if you don't have it, it's never there. It's just that situations bring it out. But God doesn't want you to have fear. Yes.
Let's follow up on that. So if it's there, why is it? Why don't I notice it when everything is fine, and then when something happens and I get angrier, and then it ends up showing up. So if it's always there, why am I not aware of it?
But you said, why am I not aware of it when everything is fine, right?
Yeah.
But why would you be aware of fear if everything is fine?
Well, I mean, I'm aware of it when everything is not fine because
Right.
it's playing in my head. I can see, you kind of feel the fear. You kind of, thinking things that
Right.
you wouldn't normally think or that aren't rational.
Yeah. But when everything is fine, there is no challenge. There's nothing to
Right.
bring out what's in you. So that's why you don't feel it. Because, you're just tiptoeing through
Right.
the tulips.
Okay.
And that's no problem with that. But I want you to know that you can live a life without fear. You really, really can. And most people do. Some people believe that you can, but they don't know how to get to it. That is amazing. Yes.
So it's interesting you asked, why am I holding on to it? I don't see myself holding on to it. That's not something I want to hold on to.
Then why not let it go when it comes up? Because the reason it's coming up is God giving you an opportunity so you can see that it's there, so that you can overcome it.
I guess I don't see how I'm holding on to it, but
Right.
I'll keep an eye on that.
Man, I went to my aunt's church last Sunday evening. They had a play, and she was in the play, and I went. And before they started the play, they had, they had the singing and the offering and the stuff that they do. And they were singing about God as though one day, by and by, things would get better, And you could see that they were not happy. And I'm like, wow, it's just so it's interesting that everything has been put back in place, and yet people are living lives all in the name of Jesus as though Christ never came and restored everything, put it all back in place. And so ride home, and all of a sudden I realized, wow, I'm glad that God took all that stuff away from me. All that fear and all that doubt and all that worry. And it is amazing because it doesn't occur to me to live a life of fear. When challenges come and stuff, fear is not my thing anymore. And I used to have it. I really did. So I know what it is to have it. But I don't think first to be afraid.
What place does fear have in our life?
To hold you back, to destroy you.
Now, wait a minute. We have instinctive fear. When you see a lion running towards you, you are scared, you're going to run, you're going to pull a gun out. I mean, it has a place. Fear does.
That kind of fear doesn't have a place. Because if you ran into a lion and he would try and attack you, the first impression for children of God is to stay calm so you can see what to do.
What to do? Get
Yes.
the hell out of there.
That may be the answer. But your first response is fear. That's not the answer.
But there is a natural fear. It's there for a reason. Everybody at some point in their life has it. Whether it rules your life, that's another story. If it is bigger than it should be, but there is a natural
I love what you're saying.
instinct of fear. When you see a president that's not doing things right, you're afraid of what may happen. I mean, it takes a certain place in our life. And I am a person that has been ruled by fear.
Yes.
And by the way, did you see Act of Valor?
Well, yeah, but I want to stay with what you're saying right now
They
because
talked about fear in that movie, and it's very, very important to see that movie because they spoke about fear in there. These are our biggest heroes in this country. Those guys.
how do you respond to, who agree about the natural fear? Their natural fear that you should have. You agree with that? Are you agree? I want to talk to the agreeer first. Don't be, this is a fellowship. It's not a test. It's testifying one to another. You agree with
I
him?
agree with what he said.
Okay, you agree with the idea of a natural fear. If you
Like
see a
certain-
lion,
Yeah,
then you become afraid, and then you do something.
yeah.
Okay, yes, you agree with that too?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, and why do you agree with it?
Well, if you compare it to, let's see, look at the animal kingdom, okay?
Right.
You see like a gazelle and stuff, he sees or smells danger and stuff here.
Right.
Like a lion coming towards him. That fear will trigger the mechanisms called self-preservation. We need fear to be able to protect ourselves so we can able to meet the threat, any threats that come our way without prejudice.
Oh, okay. Boys, what was it about the act of valor that confirmed for you that you need an amount of fear, a natural fear?
It didn't confirm it. What these guys said was near the end of the movie, they said, don't go through your whole life ruled by fear. Now, these guys, they have families, they go out and do the most dangerous things you can do. They're not ruled by fear. If anybody should be ruled by fear, they should be. And so they say, don't make decisions in your life predicated on fear, because
Right.
you won't have a good life.
So
Don't
the-
go to the end of your life afraid that you didn't do what you wanted to do in your life, or accomplish what you wanted to
So
do.
they had fear, but they just didn't give in to the fear.
Yeah, they
okay.
naturally, their wives were afraid for their
Right.
safety, and anyway, they,
How many people seen that movie? You've seen it already? Oh, okay. All right. I'll comment on it without going deeply into it. The one thing I did see it. I went last week and saw it. Well, yeah, last week. So this is a new week. And you're right, they had fear, but those people were trained to do what they did. You know, they were like physically trained how to carry out these particular acts. And being trained to do something doesn't take away your fear. And so they had it, but because they were well trained how to go out and kill and how to help people, you know, survive and stuff like that, it doesn't take away the spirit of fear. So it's a physical act of valor, but it's not a spiritual act of valor. That's what I realized about the movie.
so they're not ruled by fear, but they do have a level of, there's a level of fear there.
Right.
Yeah.
But if they didn't have that fear, they could carry out the training that they had even better than what they did just by being trained to do something. And I understand why they call it an act of valor. I appreciate what they do because they help protect us. But if they had no fear at all, they could do even better in life. Because those same guys would go home after conquering somebody from war, their wives would beat them up. They're scared to speak up to their family, or if it's black on white situation, they're afraid to speak up. You know what I'm saying? And so training is just, it's not going to take away the fear. This is so interesting. I'm glad about this, what we're saying right now. Yes, Frankie.
Well, I used to be a coward, so I lived in fear for a big portion of my life.
Yes.
And that fear is, it's an animal nature that a man falls to, and it's a reaction. And, you know, a person is courageous, it's the opposite. And I noticed that when I've met fighters who have no fear, and they actually do battle with people, they live their life like that.
I used to be impressed by, and I still am, I appreciate the talent of other people. And I used to be impressed by the way people carry out material things like that. You see a fighter beat up everybody and their mama, and you think, wow, that's a courageous person. But that's misleading now. I realize that that's misleading. Even though I can appreciate the talent of it, but anybody can be trained to do that kind of stuff. All you have to do is find a good teacher and go through the training. And you can be trained to do, it's like training a monkey to do what monkeys do. Or what they wouldn't ordinarily do. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I want you to start seeing things a little differently. That's why I'm saying this. Do you have fear now, Frankie, at all?
No, I can't really say.
You don't have any fear?
No.
You don't have none at all?
No.
I'm gonna ask you 3 times before the cock crows.
No.
Yes, sir.
I want to go back to something that Hermes asked. Hermes asked a question, I forget exactly, but I want to ask the question,
Do you have fear?
that's not the question I wanted to ask. I want to ask, how come I don't recognize the opportunity that God has given me? Like you told Hermes that when that comes up, God has given us the opportunity. How come I don't recognize that opportunity?
Because you're reacting to fear. And the moment you react, you can't see what's in front of you. That's why God wants us to keep an eye on ourselves instead of anything or anybody else. Not even the situation, but keep an eye on how you react to the situation. Then you can see yourself, and you can see that moment that He's given you to be saved. But the moment you overreact, you lose the opportunity. It's gone.
But there's times when I've done it, when I haven't overreacted, and but I still don't know that I see that as an
Well,
opportunity.
keep doing it, you will.
Okay.
But you got to keep an eye on yourself. I'm telling you, and then after a while, there will come a time when things will just happen, and you will just find yourself not even reacting to it. And then the answers come to the situation, how to resolve it, but you grow from it. You grow from it in ways that you can't even imagine. I want to, yes, Christine.
As far as like fear,
But you didn't answer the question.
I gotta get back to work.
Yes.
I'll have fear and anxiety just about like the future, and then I realize that I can take all that away by turning it over to God, and because He doesn't want me to be fearful or,
Yes.
or anxious.
That's right.
And He really wants me, and so as soon as you do that, then you just have this peace like, okay, now can I stay in that all the time? I'd like to be able to, and
Yes.
more and more times than I'm able to. And then when the fear comes up, I just, push it away and turn it over to God again. And that's been giving me a lot more peace.
Yes, absolutely, because you're becoming aware of Him right now. The reality is there is no future. It doesn't exist. So when you go into the darkness of your imagination, it gives you an illusion of a future, and that's where the fear comes from. But as long as you live in the moment with Him, then there is no illusion, and it's impossible to have fear. So that's why when you say, I give myself over to God, you come back to His presence, and in His presence there is no fear. And if you practice being aware of that, just being aware of yourself falling into the darkness of imagination, after a while it'll get further and further away from you, it'll be nothing.
Yeah, that's what I'm finding is that you're right. It's getting a little bit better. I don't want to.
Yes.
It's like leaps and bounds, but I'm just, I'm able to catch myself and
That's right.
It's getting to be more of a habit.
And after a while, I'm telling you, it'll be so far away from you, and then you will start seeing other people acting out, and you will have compassion for them because you see that they just can't see. One thing I want, yes, honey.
I wanted to know, does a certain situation have something to do with a little fear? Because I know somebody who they're like a daredevil. They like to put themselves in situations where they might get shot at, or they like pain. And I just thought that was really weird. So I was trying to see, is it some kind of fear in there?
Yes.
Are they trying to face?
They're trying to prove to themselves. That's why when these people jump off the mountain, you see these white folks climbing these mountains way up in the Sahara Desert, wherever they are, and they fall off and dead. I'm like, fine. That's not how you get over that. And the world rewards them. Oh, they were so brave, right? I'm thinking, that's insane. And if all that snow fall on them, fine. They had to have been going up that high trying to prove something. That doesn't take away your fear. I want to respond to something Forrest said that was very interesting about the lion. You see this lion coming after you. Your first thing to react and either run or kill the lion. God gave us authority over the animals. it's unnatural to be afraid of animals. They should fear us. And so that's why I say that when your first thing is to become afraid, that's not natural fear, that's unnatural fear. There is nowhere in the Bible where God says fear is good for you. I remember when Christ was on the boat with the disciples, and they were all telling him how wonderful he is. We love you. You're the Christ. Right on. You're a tough guy. We see where you're coming from. We meditate. We don't hate our mama anymore. And they're telling Christ how brave, how good everything was, right? And Christ said, all right, good. So he went to sleep. He took a nap. And when he took the nap, the waves came. And the boat started shaking and stuff like that. And the first thing they did was to freak out. All of a sudden, all this brave stuff was gone. And they're like, wake up, wake up. We're about to sink. The waves are about to destroy us. And Christ said, you know what? If you had no fear, if you believed, you could have told the waves to stop. Because all Christ did was calm the waters. He told the water to be still, and the water was still. And they were like, oh, that's cool. You're the guy, right? They're like, you could have done the same thing. And that's the truth. When you don't have fear, you could do the same thing. But if you have fear, you can't do it. Because fear is of the devil. There's no love in fear, nothing good about fear. So it's not natural to have fear. And I know the world teaches that it is because the world is not of God. And so they're going to try to teach you their ways. But there's nowhere in the scriptures where it's okay or natural or anything to have fear. Everywhere it's telling you to be brave, be bold, stand firm, don't run, don't be afraid. Yes, Forrest?
Does fear, my mother taught me how to fear really well. And
yes.
And I've been, but you gradually, I see it gradually going away to where I'm not afraid to stand in front of a group of people and talk, or there's many things but there's still a sliver left, and it creeps up on me through my imagination when there's no real rational reason at my age to be afraid of anything. I mean,
Yeah, that's right. That's a good thing I want to say. Can you imagine being an old person? When I mean old, past kid age, anywhere from 20 on, because then you're not subject to your parents, you're not subject to anybody, right? But you see, we get old with fear, and all we're doing is dealing with other people. And while we're afraid of other people, that doesn't even seem right, does it? I'm like, wow, what is it? How can we be old and have fear? Afraid to be frank with other people, tell the truth, afraid of losing something. That's weird. But you're never going to overcome that until you can forgive. You have to humble yourself. Don't play games with it. You got to totally let your anger go so you can have perfect peace. And perfect peace, perfect love casts out fear. The only way you still have it because you still have anger. It's impossible to have fear. And it's impossible to have peace and have anger. You're gonna have fear as long as you have anger.
So that's a no answer?
Yeah.
In other words, it doesn't gradually go away.
It doesn't gradually go away.
It goes away.
Either you have it or you don't have it. It doesn't gradually go away. Now, you can gradually teach yourself to do a few things, like learn how to stand in front of public and speak. But you still have fear. Because even up there speaking, thank you, sir. I really appreciate that. Even up there speaking, somebody can say something that totally disagree with you and freak you out over that. Make you mad right there because they disagree. That's fear. Either you have it or you don't have it. It's not of God. Ernest, I saw your hand.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Yes. To address Forrest's parable about coming face to face with a lion, I remember. I don't suppose anyone remembers the stories from the Yorkshire veterinarian James Herriot. One of them told about a story of a bull charging at a 12-year-old girl who happens to be his daughter, but she instead of reacting, she stood completely still, and the bull stopped in his tracks because it couldn't really. There was no fear.
I don't want you to test this. I'm not asking you to test. No, what I'm about to say, not what he just said. I remember when I was a young teenager, I guess, and in the church they used to tell us not to have fear, don't fear animals and things like that. And I used to test. Sometimes you go to somebody's house and the dog is barking, because in those days the dogs were outside and not in the house, right? And they would bark at you, and I have stood there and looked at a dog just to see if they would back off if I don't show fear toward them, and it does work. I'm not asking you to do it because but it does work. You're right about that, right? It definitely does work. Remember some guys in the Bible who were put into the lion's den?
Daniel.
See that? They were not afraid of the lions. And everybody's like, wow, how did they survive? Fear is your enemy.
Yes.
It really is your enemy.
Or if the lion is hungry and wants to eat you.
Whatever.
Very hungry.
They starved Daniel, they starved the lion
Yeah.
for 7 days.
They were hungry.
They starved him.
I'm telling you, you're crazy if you accept fear as being okay. You're never going to be free from it. Yes?
I was talking with my parents about how my grandmas were impatient with my grandpas, and I told them how it's scary for me to tell my grandmas. I noticed that they were kind of impatient with my grandpas.
Yeah.
And they started to make up reasons why I shouldn't even bring it up, and I was like, I'm not even sure if I should, but it seems like they were convincing me that I should by trying to convince me not to.
Yeah.
Because it was like they were making excuses, like the same excuses that come up in my mind when I'm around them trying.
It is the same thing. What people with fear, that's what they do. They make up excuses why they shouldn't deal with the issue. They make up excuses. As a matter of fact, I'm looking at our country right now, and I notice that the children of Satan, they are so into fear and doubting and controlling that they don't want any truth to come out at all now. You speak the truth about anything, the first thing they do is shut down that truth. Because it's the truth that's going to bring on a change. And the worst thing that can happen to the children of Satan is the truth. And especially truth without resentment. Because when it has no resentment, it is so powerful, it is sharper than a two-edged sword, and it blows you away. So you're absolutely right. They're afraid to deal with this issue, and they don't want you to deal with it because they don't know how to handle it.
They would say like, "Oh, she's gotten a lot better," and it would be more damaging to say it when she can't do anything now that they're gone, the grandpas are gone. But I was thinking, like, if they've really gotten better, then they could handle their grandkids saying something like that.
That's right. Did you tell them that?
No. Well, oh yeah, I told my parents that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Good. Can you turn that heater off? Yeah. That's good, man. You got to take those little bold steps. And you can always tell a person who has fear, he or she make up excuses.
Yes.
I thought of the same thing that you said about the country. Is like they think that they're doing the right thing by, shutting me up.
Yes.
And telling me to tell positive things to my grandmas.
Yeah, lie to them. A lot of help that's going to do, Grandma. Tell Grandma the sweet little lies. You heard that song, Tell Me Lies, Tell Me Lies?
Yes.
Tell me sweet little lies?
Yes.
People love
Fleetwood
lies.
Mac.
Oh, thank you.
That's saying.
Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah.
Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies, but lies does nothing good for you. They do not help. They only hurt. Tell me the truth. And if I can't handle the truth, let me cry and shout and be mad and don't care. I'm going to tell you a story that I heard this week about a husband, wife, and daughter. Yes, Kelly?
When you said that thing about the waves, like you can stop the waves from coming, it was really powerful.
Yes.
It triggered something I saw this week. It was a video of Andrew Breitbart, and some event was going on, and a bunch of protesters had been bussed in by a union.
Yes.
And there were dozens
Wow.
of them. There were dozens of people, like
Yeah.
dozens, big group. They were angry. They were holding signs, and Andrew Breitbart walks up to them calmly, all by himself. And one by one, very calmly, he goes up to these people. Why are you holding that sign that says so-and-so's a coward? What does that mean? One by one, he goes up to them, and they literally just like back off. Like it takes probably like 3 minutes. The whole crowd disperses. He just goes up to them, and they're like yelling at him, calling him gay, and it really brought that image when you said, you can tell the waves to turn the other way. And,
Yes, that's a perfect example. This guy, I saw the video, this guy went up, like you said, a crowd of protesters, signs, picket signs, angry, carrying on people. And he ran, because after a while the protesters started to leave. One man ran the whole crowd off because he refused to back down. That's a perfect example. And I hadn't realized until now how powerful that was. But he ran them off, and you could do the same thing if you don't have fear. Fear, you can tell when people are cowards, they can never stand alone. They'll say, I'll do it if you come along with me. They're like, go and tell so-and-so about himself or herself. I can't do that. No, go and do it. Well, I'll do it if you come with me. You never see, people with fear do not stand alone. That's why God said all he needs is one, that one was right. All he's looking for is that one, because greater is he that's in us than he that's in the crowd. There's power in not having fear. You can't feel it, taste it, or touch it. You just live it. Isn't it something? Yes. Fear is not natural. It's unnatural. And it comes from anger, resentment. Yes. Let me take that young man. He's been waiting a while.
Well, just another example of this, which Forrest was talking about fear being natural. I remember seeing a video one time of they had a band playing, heavy metal band playing music, and it was in a real small place, and they didn't have good fire control and things like that, and they lit off some pyrotechnics.
Yes.
They ended up lighting the whole place on fire, and people went into a dead panic and tried to get out. And they went into fear.
Yeah.
And what their fear drove them to do was to panic, not see the proper exits, run for the obvious exits, and then pile themselves up in bodies next to the doorway. And they almost all burned to death. And very few could see what was actually going on and were calm about it, and could see, oh, there's a bunch of people at this exit, I'm going
That's
here.
right.
And they're the ones that survived.
Amen, amen. I'm telling you, there's nothing like calmness, stand still and dealing with the situation, because you do see what to do. And the crowd is just running and yelling and screaming, but you can see what to do. Never, ever, 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 ever let anyone tell you that fear is natural, anger is natural, you need some anger so you can get things done. It's all lies, and it's straight from the devil. And children of the devil will tell you this kind of stuff. Why don't you overcome your fear?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that.
I think the saddest commentary in America today is that men have fear. I don't know one man who does not have fear. Well, yeah, I know one. Somebody alarm clock going off? Oh. Sounds like an old-fashioned alarm clock. It is so disgusting. Do you ladies know any man other than me that doesn't have fear? You don't. Isn't that a shame? What do you think about that?
That's why I'm single.
There's nothing worse than a man that has fear. And I ask these men, do you have fear of your wife? Yeah. Laughing about it, thinking it's cute. And the worst thing in the world is for a man to to be afraid of his wife. It just brings out the worst in her.
Yeah, right on.
Well, and some men like that.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they like a woman scolding them.
Yeah.
They think that's love.
Yeah. So my question is, should I tell the story first or should I ask the question first? Help me, Lord.
Don't be scared.
Let me ask Rhonda, because women tend to understand this better than men. Rhonda, where does fear come from? Where's the beginning of fear?
Your anger.
And where does it come from?
Where does your anger come from?
Yes.
Resenting something, resenting someone for something and being impatient.
How come men are afraid of their wives and or girlfriends?
They're afraid, they're mad at their mothers.
So what?
They're angry with their mothers.
Do you mean that? Or you just saying
I do, yes.
I'm sorry?
She's yes, I do.
You mean that?
Yes.
Because that's the truth.
Right on.
Fear originates from women. And most of the time from the mother. It comes through her. And that's why these men are afraid of their wives, because they don't understand that they resent their mothers and they are attracted to mama. You end up with a woman, ain't no way to get away from it unless you overcome the fear. The problem with it, if you overcome the fear before you get married, you end up never getting married. Because you see what's coming through these, the women like that. Not all women running, don't call me this week. But that's where it comes from. I heard this story, and then I'll take you guys' hand. I'm so fortunate, and I was thinking about this morning, that I get a chance to talk to a lot of people about a lot of different situations all the time from around the country. And this man was telling me this story of a man he knows who is married, and they have several children. One of the daughters is still at home, and she's 30-something years old, and she's absolutely controlled by her mother, to a point that if she goes out anywhere, the mother would call her all while she's out. Where are you? What are you doing? Who are you with? Why aren't you home? And the girl cannot get away from her mother because she literally hates the mother, and the mother is totally controlling her. Just totally control the daughter, right? And last week, the father had the daughter arrested, had her put in jail because the daughter is just doing awful things because, she's acting out her anger toward the mother. And the father would never deal with the mother. He always deal with the daughter. And so the man asked the father, why did you put your daughter in jail? Your daughter is not the problem, it's your wife. Why don't you deal with your wife? And he said to the man, what would happen if you told your wife, you're the one that need to be in jail and not my daughter, is you because, you're the one making her this way. He said, man, I would never do that. My wife would have a hell of a fit if I told her it was her. I could never do that. And then he said, and besides, if I told my wife the truth, she may leave and I wouldn't have anyone to take care of me. Isn't that amazing? But that is typical with men today. Absolutely typical. They don't understand, and the daughters too, because the mothers are doing it to the daughters as well. But they don't understand what the mothers, what has happened to them and how to overcome it. And the problem is you hear a lot of talk going on in society today, but you don't hear any truth that make you free. They don't tell the truth. Even in debates, people don't tell the truth. They just disagree on issues, but they don't talk about what's really going on so that you can be inspired so that you can overcome. And God wants us to be inspired because it's that truth that makes us free. But we don't hear that anymore. Can you imagine saying, well, in a debate, and let's say I'm on Fox News, and I say, well, you know what, the reason you're so weak and pathetic because your mother has destroyed you. Your mother did this to you. They probably didn't have me back. And it's just mind-blowing what's happening. And these men got to forgive their mothers so they can come back to their proper state of being, and then they can spiritually protect their wives and children. And Satan, he doesn't want that to happen. That's why he's shedding down the truth, the spiritual aspect of what's going on. But it's coming through the mother. The fear is coming from resenting your mothers. And when you resent, you're separated from God. And when you're separated from God, you have fear. Men and women. Yes, ma'am.
I have two questions. First one is that why do we resent our mothers? Where does it come from? Why mothers and not fathers? Is it coming from the very, very beginning, from even Adam?
Because, not all, but most. Mothers have been set up by their mothers. You know, that anger has been passed down through them as well. It's really the Eve syndrome happening. You know, Eve believed a lie, and she was separated, turned against man, and that's still happening.
Yep.
You know,
we're going to suffer for that just one person made a mistake?
Yeah, but you don't have to suffer. Because right now, if you can understand this is the spiritual thing, and I need to stop hating my mother and my father, then it'll start with you, and you won't pass it on to your family. Because Christ has come and restored everything. But because we're not living that truth and talking about it, it's happening from every generation. And but it can start with your generation. The moment you admit that you do have it, and it's, you know that it's wrong, God will take it away from you. So when you get married, you'll pass on love to your children because you will understand that order. You will love your husband who loved Christ, and then there's love. You know, love comes from above, not from below. But it doesn't have to happen anymore.
And also, how do people and things and material things get to the point that they can control you 100% of the time?
Because we live by faith, and we got to believe in something. And so you believe that your material things are going to make you happy. You believe that if I had more friends, that'll make me happy. You believe if I had more money, it will make me happy. You believe in those things. But because when you're angry, we all believe in something. We live by faith. But because you're angry, you're separated from God, and your belief is in the wrong things.
Whatever we're saying, whatever we're reading in the Bible, not having fear, not do this, not do that, it's so easy and in front of us. But how come we are not being able to do that? Because it's easy. It's easy not to have fear. Stand in front of the angry dog and not get afraid at all.
Yes.
How come we're not being able?
Because your heart and mind is not set on seeking first the kingdom of God in His right way. It's not set on watching yourself. And I know people who try to watch themselves, but the moment a situation comes along, instead of keeping their eyes on themselves, they're judging the person or the situation. And the moment you take your eyes off yourself, then you lose. That's why. You cannot afford to look at anybody else and what they're doing and judge them. You have to keep your eye on yourself, how you're reacting or dealing with the situation. And that's why people don't they're not growing in it, because any little thing can throw them off. Very good question. I read a little saying, I listened to bring the book. It says that an argument, and I'm not quoting it exactly, it says that an argument can only last as long as you take your eye off yourself. You know what I mean? An argument can, if I can see that I'm wrong and I'm in an argument with you, if I just say, you know what, I'm wrong, I'm sorry, the argument is over. But if I'm trying to make you be wrong or judging you for being wrong, the argument goes on and on and on.
What if I really don't see that I'm wrong? For me, right is this.
Right. But most blind people don't see that they're wrong. That's why they're blind. They want to be, right in their wrong, so they never admit that they're wrong. That's why you got to keep your eye on yourself. Because when you keep your eye on yourself, you always know when you're wrong. Just like that, you know you're wrong. Just like that, you know you're wrong. But people who are living in darkness, they know it, but they don't want to admit it. Because there's that desire to control someone. Isn't that true? I can't hear you.
Yes.
Yeah? Angry people want to control someone or something. So that's why they can't admit it. Because to be free, you don't want to control anybody or anything. There's no need to. Amen.
Amen.
You try to control your husband?
Maybe I do things, later on I understand, he explains me that this is wrong, but by doing it intentionally, I do not do that at all. I might do it
You
by...
just can't see what you're doing
Yes.
at the time that you're doing it.
Yes, but whenever he explains me, I understand that whatever I did was wrong or whatever
Yeah.
I'm doing right now is wrong, but intentionally, I will never do that.
I want you to practice. When I say practice, I don't mean put your will into it. I want you on a daily basis, keep your eyes, your heart, your mind set on what is right, on God. When you can see yourself, you can see God in you. And then you'll start seeing it before you even do it. Because there will come a time you don't have to even do it. You know.
Can you clarify that a little bit, how to keep my eyes on myself and what situations can...
Let's say that your husband is about, I know your husband, he doesn't drink, he doesn't go to bars. I'm just using this as an example. Let's say he want to go out to the bar tonight and you want him to stay home. And you say, oh, honey, stay home with me. I love you. You're never home, right? And he said, no, I'm going to the bar. And right away, Satan would give you something, either go off on him, make him mad, or offer him something to keep him home, right? And the moment you see that that is controlling. You're trying to will somebody to do what you want them to do. But if you can see it in the moment, it prevents you from doing it. So you just say, okay, fine, go to the bar, no problem. And everything works out for you. You can see it. You can see it before it happens. You can see the temptation and resist it. When your eyes is honest and kept on yourself. When your eyes are honest and kept on themselves.
I
on
can
yourself.
see that by going to the bar, he can drink, and on the way home, he can get accident, or I am really thinking about him. I don't want that.
But that's what angry mama people think. They want to control everything. You can't help that. If you're going to be in an accident, there's nothing you can do about it. But see, that's just a lie made up. Oh, honey, if you go to the bar, you're going to get drunk, you're going to have an accident. That's control. That's part of that manipulation. And if you can be honest about it in yourself, it'll fade away. And you'll become a free person. Because people who control others are not free. It takes a lot of work to control somebody. You gotta stay up overtime at night. What am I gonna do next, you know? But when you don't try to control, you're free. And I know situations where women are in situations like that. If they let go of trying to control that man, God will work it out for them. Maybe they don't need to be in that situation. Or they can have perfect peace while he's running wild. You know, something will happen, he's with you, and he'll take care of you. Isn't that something?
It is.
But it's about you and not about him.
Oh.
Yes. Thanks for your patience.
We were just talking about, being wrong. The main one, I think it either is the main reason, or maybe the only reason, that we don't see when we are wrong, because we are angry. The moment you get angry, you can't see that you're wrong.
And do you have fear?
Yes.
And why do you hold on to your fear?
I really don't hold on to it. I can just see. For instance,
But why don't you overcome it?
I go for a walk, and I overlooked the snake. The snake was right next to me. It didn't hit me, thank God. But I mean, what a shock that was to me. And a shock is fear, you see?
But I'm not even talking about that kind of fear. I'm talking about the other fear.
I don't try to hang on to it. I just, I wish it wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
And just one more thing about fear that I wanted to say before,
it's all right by this name. Just yeah.
Yes, said about natural fear. It's just one more thing. You're absolutely right. Just one other aspect of why there's no, natural fear. There's no such thing as a natural fear.
That's right.
Because we are supposed to have dominion over the animals.
Yes.
The instant you have fear in your heart, you lose your dominion. And you are inferior to the animal.
Since you know all that, why don't you let go of your fear, the spirit of fear? That's what I really like to understand. Because some of you quote the scriptures to me. But why don't you let go of that fear if you know the scriptures?
Well, you know what the question is? How do you let go?
Okay.
That's
how do you let go?
How do you
so
let
you don't
go?
know how to let go?
Yes.
All right.
How do you let go?
All right, that's an honest answer. You don't know how, and I hope I can get a chance to say it again for the 100,265.5 trillion, 879 billion.
Okay. Don't
times.
get tired.
Right.
Okay. Don't just.
I
never,
will not
never
get
stop.
weary, nor will I get tired.
Never stop.
All right. Let me take a hand that I haven't gotten to yet. Yes.
Oh God, this is a while ago, I think. I think I was gonna say, if you're, because you were saying the story about the man with the wife and how the daughter resents the wife for controlling her.
Yes.
But in that situation, isn't it also like, I would think as if you were that girl, wouldn't there also be like a resentment for the father not standing up for you?
Yes.
Or not being like in that role, which I'm just saying, I feel
Yes,
like
ma'am.
a lot of times the resentment comes, the way it comes to you isn't necessarily through your mother. It may come through your father who got it from his mother, or, you know what I mean? That he's not being the...
Most, I mean, of course that could possibly happen, but most, 99.999, but not all the time. It comes through the mother first, and then the daughter or the son resents the father because she or he sees his weakness too, and so it's double trouble. Because we naturally know that a man is supposed to be strong. We naturally know that our fathers are supposed to be strong. And when you see that, you resent him for that as well.
But if that's what's happening, then, like, what I'm saying is, like, if you're in a situation where your mother is a certain way and so you resent her, how could those two people even be together if the father wasn't already a match for that? Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yes, the
how can a man be
father,
with the
the
woman
father
that's
definitely
already so
attracted to his
controlling?
mother. Every woman that he comes in contact with, as long as he has that anger toward his mother, every woman that he comes in contact with has the same spirit of his mother. But he doesn't understand that. He's attracted to mother. He lost his innocence there, and he unconsciously thinks he's going to get it back by going through mama, and he would never get it back. And then nobody's saying it. That's what's so, that's one of the major problems. How do you tell adults and children today that your mother screwed you up? You got to forgive your mother, and then the world don't come after you. You're not allowed to even speak the truth about women.
That's right.
You're not allowed to do it. And so Satan shut that down as well. He's real clever. Yes? Ken.
What do you think would happen if the Bible said in it, don't hate your mama?
They would burn the Bible. It does say that, though. It says honor your parents.
I'm saying specifically, don't hate your mama.
Oh, yeah. It said don't hate your mama because she screwed you up. They would burn it. They'll take it out. It'll be exited out of the Bible. In today's society, in the good old days when boys were boys and men were men, it did not happen that way. Now, here's how I overcame my fear. Somebody asked, how do you overcome fear, right?
Yes.
I had the fear, too. I was afraid of women. I was afraid of, and men can see this in women too. I know this. All men can see this, but they're afraid to men. You can look at a woman that you're dating or dealing with, or your mama or your grandma, and you can see her anger. You can see her craziness. And then it scares you so you don't do anything about it. Am I right?
Yeah. Men like it.
That's true.
Men like it. It's exciting.
I don't know. Some do, but most are afraid of it. But men can see it, ladies. I don't care how much makeup you put on. They can see that spirit in your flesh. Isn't that right, Pat?
Yeah, that's right.
But I don't ever hear the men say, I can see it. But what they see is mama in you. And because dad didn't help with mama, now they're afraid of mama. They're afraid to deal with it too. I can see an angry woman a mile away. And she doesn't have to be all like this. You just see it. But anyway, I had the fear. I was afraid to deal with, I told you about the story. I used to work for the union, and I had a female boss, right? And she was like rough and tough. She made me cry one day. I'm embarrassed to tell you. That was before I woke up, folks. I remember one time she and another worker organized and got me in a room and wore me down.
You can fight a woman?
I was too scared to even fight then. So the way I got over my fear, long story short, I sat in my room one day wanting to know myself because I had asked God to let me see myself because I was so weak and out of it. Let me see myself, right? I had fear and doubt and all that stuff. And God allowed me to see that I resented my mother. And in seeing it, it allowed me to know that that was holding me back in life. That's why I had the fear. That's why I dealt with every woman in fear the way that I would have dealt with the way I was dealing with my mother, because I had this fear. And every woman reminded me of Mama. And the only way I could get along with her, I had to do what she wanted. And then I wouldn't be happy doing what she wanted me to do because it wasn't what I wanted to do. And when I saw that I resented my mother, he caused me to forgive her because I realized she couldn't help herself. And when I forgave her, I went to her, told her why I resented her. And when I forgave her, he forgave me. He took away my fear and gave me perfect love. And I don't have fear. I'm not afraid of anybody. And I'm not walking around feeling like a tough guy. It's just that the spirit of fear is gone that brings on all these thoughts and feelings and stuff. I absolutely don't have it, and I had it bad. So that's how you overcome it.
So
you
can't really let go.
No, you can't let go.
You can't let go.
You got to be willing to forgive, and God will take it away from you. That's how you let go. Don't put any effort into trying to make it go away. You can't. It will only get worse. Because it's the spirit. It's the identity of Satan inside of you. Yes, boy.
So this just came to my mind. This actually happened about 20 years ago. I'm in the mountains hiking back, like a 15-mile hike with a heavy backpack, and I come to a crossing, and I've got my dog with me, and there's a huge bear standing on her hind. Now, and
Kelly, come and read something.
And yelling at me, right?
All right.
Now, if you're with me, we're both going to turn around, and I'm scared to death, and you have no fear, and we're both running stride for stride, right? I mean, what are we doing here? This really happened.
Well, I can't project what I would do in the next moment, so I don't know what I would do in that situation.
Okay, I'll invite you next time.
Yeah. Come and read something. Did that help when I said how I overcame it?
Yes.
That's the way I overcame it. I had to see that I was wrong. And now my eyes are stayed on me, the God that's in me. I keep my eyes on myself. Now it's not even an effort anymore. But when I was willing to see me and know that I was wrong for hating her and not have any excuse or denial, he took it away from me. Come and read this for me real fast, Kel. We have a minute. Is that right?
2 minutes.
This is Kelly, the producer of the Destiny Peterson radio show. She's to blame for everything. Okay.
God's help conditional on faithfulness to the law. Be strong and stand firm, for you are the man to give this people possession of the land which I swore to their ancestors.
This is in Joshua, chapter 1, starting with verse 6. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Be strong and stand firm, for you are the man to give this people possession of the land which I swore to their ancestors I would give them. Only be strong and stand very firm, and be careful to keep the whole law which my servant Moses laid down for you. Do not swerve from this either to right or left, and then you will succeed wherever you go. Have the book of this law always on your lips, meditate on it day and night, so that you may carefully keep everything that is written in it. Then your undertakings will prosper, then you will have success. Have I not told you, be strong and stand firm? Be fearless and undaunted, for go where you may, Yahweh your God is with you.
Amen. Nowhere in there it says, thank you, Kelly, where it says have fear. And here's what I want you to think about, and I've been saying this to white Americans. White Americans, not all, but most, are afraid of one word, and that word is racism. And that one word controls them, generation after generation after generation. So I said to them the other night, just imagine what would happen if you were not afraid of that one word. If you had no fear toward that word, just imagine what your enemies would do, because they have no other way to control you. They only control you with that word. If you stop reacting to that word, have no fear about it, the kingdom of heaven will be yours. The enemy will have to flee, like they did with Breitbart. they will have to flee. And so I'm telling you, just imagine if you had a life without fear. Just think about that. Because your fear is holding you back in so many situations. And just imagine if you lived a life with no fear. And I'm a living witness to let you know you can do that. That's why my life is working. I have no fear. Thank you for tuning in.
For more information, to purchase a copy of this program, or to make a donation, visit us on the web at bondinfo.org or call 1-800-411-2663. That's 1-800-411-BOND.
You're already home.